Hi, Liz.
How you doing?
I am good. It's Saturday, so
It is Saturday. I am very comfortable. I'm not
yeah.
talking about my outfit, but I'm wearing like one of my favorite Cameroonian brand, Laquelle. So,
Ah, look at you representing Laquelle. I should
so
have worn my Laquelle too. I wish I got the memo. I
you know,
should have.
oh, they have a website and they're very efficient. So basically, you can order and they deliver almost everywhere.
Yeah.
And you get to look cute, and it's summer, so look, all the arms are out.
Summer, rocket.
How are you doing? How is summer going for you?
Good, good. Working, busy.
Okay.
Kiddo keeping me busy. So she's in summer camp though, so that is a blessing because you can work when they're in summer camp. So
And you can read when they're in
yeah.
summer.
Oh
So
yes.
thank you for accepting to be here today. This is our first session
All
since we
right.
started our second wave of interviews. So you are first.
Woohoo! Well, let's see if I deliver.
No, I'm sure you will. It's all about, telling us your story. So let's start by who is our Foncha Erickson? I'm not on that Erickson. I have a little anecdote that you shared with me once. We're gonna talk about it.
All right. Well, I
Please,
mean,
our
legally right now I'm our Erickson, but obviously I was born our Foncha. I'm still our Foncha. I don't think that could ever go away from you. So I was born in Douala. I'm the oldest of three girls, one little boy. Well, he's not little, he's a grown man now. Um, Grew up in Bonapriso, I don't want to say typical, but typical family, mom, dad, siblings, cousins, lots of friends. So I think I had a pretty typical childhood that kind of molded a lot to who I am today. Friends and family are so important to me today, and I think it's just because of how I was raised. So who is Awah Foncha? Awah Foncha right now identifies as a mom, which I don't know if that should be the first thing, but I am a mom, a working professional, a feisty, youngish woman. so, and just someone who is a little different and unique in her own way. So,
Hawa is a little bit different in unique in her own way. I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah. I always
And
say that because I tend to, so being that obviously I grew up in Cameroon and right now we're in the US and stuff, I tend to not really completely fit in as American, but not also completely as a Cameroonian. I do things that typical Cameroonians do not find remotely interesting. I like camping. I like being in the woods. I like doing so. I always say I'm a little unique in that sense because I, I'm the non-typical Cameroonian. So
I mean, you like what you like. I don't like
exactly.
camping. I don't do camping. I do glamping. So excuse me. I just
No,
sleep outside, but my kids love it.
yeah, and I get it now as I'm getting older. I'm more of a glamper versus a camper. Uh, I'll take that. That I get. I completely get.
So, Awa, you were born in Cameroon, raised in Cameroon, and
Hmm.
now in the US.
Yes.
Working insurance, correct?
Yes, I am currently in insurance. I've been in this industry for almost, when did I start in the industry? 2012.
Okay.
So it's been a while in the industry in different various types of roles and stuff.
And what is your current job? What do you do right now?
So right now I am a claims manager for a large pharmaceutical company. We're a Fortune 10 company, and I handle various lines of insurance for them. So I'm pretty much the eyes of the company when it comes to, well, we have a team obviously in our risk department, but my current role is I work directly with our insurance and our TPAs. So TPAs are called third party administrators. That's what it means. I used to work for a TPA, and they pretty much work with companies that are extremely large, and maybe the typical insurance company is not really comfortable insuring them. So the companies are using their own money, and these TPAs administer their money and manage their money for them. So my role is to keep our TPAs in check, make sure that they're not spending our money frivolously, and then, just keeping up with the trends in the company, like where are losses mostly coming from? Are we seeing our vehicles and our fleets crashing too much? Like just keeping track of those trends and using it to make sure that the following year we're not repeating those same errors.
So hold on. That sounds like a insurance risk management. So do
Yeah,
you
so I'm in the risk management department. So
okay.
our department, we're the risk team, we're 7 of us, and we all have slightly different roles. So my role specifically is really just managing the insurance side of things and then making sure that whatever information I'm getting from my insurance carrier, I'm relaying it back to my team, and then we're using that to create like safety trainings, using it to create forecasts for the next year. How much should we budget to upgrade our equipment? Because we're seeing that this equipment is failing more constantly and it's costing us this much in insurance and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely risk management. So I mean, we're all risk managers in our department. We just have different titles. So
So
yeah.
where did you start your journey? Like what school did you attend to get to where you are? And did you want to be into insurance growing up? Did you have that plan or did you want to be something else?
Growing up, my I was thinking when I saw that, I was like, let me think about what I wanted to be. I remember my first job, I wanted to be a police officer. Don't ask me why. I
But
was
in Cameroon though.
in Cameroon. I wanted to be a police officer. I have no idea. And then at one point, we spent the summer in Bamenda with my grandparents, and we got close to a couple of nuns. I wanted to be a nun. I wanted to stay in the convent because every time I went to a convent, you got nice food, bread, like just the really nice food. In my head, becoming a nun meant good food. So at some point, I went back and forth. And then I know in my early teens, I was determined to get into politics. My dad still teases me today because I created a party called the Representative of Youth in Cameroon. I was like, I will change Cameroon. I'll become the first female president. So even now, my dad's always like, so what's happened to that representative of youth in Cameroon? I was like, that's another lifetime ago. But I never really had an idea, obviously, as a kid. And then when I moved to the US in high school, I think coming from an African household where you're going to be a doctor or engineer or accountant, that was in the back of my mind. So going into college, I thought I was going to go into accounting. I was like, I'll go be an accountant. I remember taking tax audit class and I sat there saying, good for accountants, but this is the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life, and there's no way I can see myself doing this. So I just ended up doing more of a generic business management degree with a concentration in women's studies and marketing. And the women's studies part was, I was like, maybe I could go to law school. Let me get, I was just all over the place. But my senior year in high school, my mom was in banking. She seemed to really enjoy her career. Senior year in college, I went to Academy of Holy Angels for high school. Then I went to St. Scholastica, which was a liberal arts private Catholic college. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot in banking. My mom has had a really good career in banking. Let's see what this is about. So I got hired in a group of where 12 of us that were hired to be managers in training for US Bank at the time. So I went through a 6 months training program. Then I got assigned a branch as a branch manager at that branch. But here I was 21, 22. I'm like, banking is good, but I don't know if I want to be as frontline banking versus working more on the corporate side of things. So I reached out to a couple of mentors and to see what they do in other aspects of banking, but nothing just seemed to click. So at that point, I decided I wanted to go get my MBA. And so during the course of my MBA, I took an insurance and risk course. And it was completely fascinating to me, specifically workers' compensation. I was like, this is something that is like, wow, just the idea of obviously companies having a program that protects their employees for injuries, but also the type of injuries that were covered in the US. For me, it was just so foreign. I was like, okay, so I can claim stress at work. Like that was just so foreign to me. Like we're all stressed in life. How can you claim stress? But work covers stuff like that. So that just really fascinated me. And
I'm just writing it down because like I didn't know that I can claim strengths.
yes, in some states, most states in the US now offer mental stress claims, which is just it's coming from the industry is one of those annoying things because I'm like, you're stressing me out now by filing a stress claim. But but states like California, when I used to handle that jurisdiction when I started my insurance career, it was just like, wow, my manager yelled at me, I'm stressed, I'm filing a claim, and I'm walking away with $30,000. Like, how is that even possible? But it's America. So, I mean, it was just so fascinating. So I literally went on LinkedIn and joined the Black MBA group of Minnesota. I started stalking people to see who was in the industry. And I met this lady, she's since passed away. I reached out to her. Now I'm trying to blank on her last name. Her first name was Janelle. I reached out to her and she's like, absolutely, I'll mentor you. I had no idea who this woman was. She didn't know me. But we started chatting and a job opening happened at Travelers Insurance. That's where I started my insurance journey. And she knew somebody there, so she did a referral and I got hired as a claims adjuster. So that was the beginning of my insurance journey. But I always knew once I took that class, I knew there was so much potential within the industry to do so much. But I also knew I wanted to start from the bottom and really understand the industry. So as I transition to different roles, I have that foundation. So one thing I'll tell young people is this: do not be afraid to start from the bottom. I think we always want to go to the top, but having that foundation seriously makes a huge difference in my current role because I understand the adjusters that I reach out to and I know what they do. So
actually it makes sense. I think it's more I did a little bit of risk myself, so it kind of makes sense when you have to deal with a lot of stakeholders.
yes,
it totally helps when you have to reach out to somebody and the
yes,
person reacts positively, or even sometimes when the person is kind of like dragging, you can tell.
yes,
Even if you are so swamped, I know this thing will take like 2 days,
yes,
not 5 days, not
exactly,
how the mechanism works. So you're
yes.
aware and you can actually note when you get played or when someone
Yeah,
is
and when you need to step in. Like, so in my current role, I'm pretty much brand new in this role. I've been working towards this role for essentially the past 12 years. I didn't think I was there yet to get into this role, but in course of just personal development and stuff, I realized you don't need to be 100% to go after what you want. And my current company is very grateful for my knowledge because I am coming fresh off a TPA, working with a TPA, and now I get to manage TPAs. So the first 3 weeks, I've already noticed so many trends that are no-no. Like, it doesn't take you 3 days to assign an adjuster to a claim that is pretty pressing. The TPA that handles our current business, I worked for them. So I know how their system works. So, and I know people who are still there. So I'm able to pick up the phone and say, hey, we sent this in 2 days ago. It's not been assigned. It's an urgent matter. The longer you wait, the more money it's costing us. And so now that they know I work for them, miraculously, things seem to be going like they're supposed to go because they know I understand their system.
That's actually it makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a question for you, as the person, the woman that you are today.
Yeah.
Did you school only in the US or did you do part in Cameroon? What school did you attend in Cameroon? And did that actually teach you anything that helped you in your life today?
So I started off with PNU Douala. So I'm a PNU Douala kid of the 90s, 80s. And then I went to Sika Baptist College, an all-girls secondary school. I would say I'm a proud Sikarit. I have conflicts with how our boarding school structure is in Cameroon now that I'm an adult. But I would say for sure, going through boarding school and the 6 years I spent there, because I ended up doing my last year of high school in the US, the 6 years definitely laid the foundation for discipline and structure. I mean, I know it's weird, most people are not this way, but I think Sika spoiled me in the sense that I'm up every day between 5:30 and 6. Even now, no matter what, I'm up. It annoys my sister who lives with me. It annoys my friends who I text early in the morning. But it created such a routine for me, and it helped me create routines in my life now. Another thing that I think I learned from there is the idea of sisterhood, not in the idea like we're blood sisters, but using the people in your network to really build and support you. And I still am really, really good friends with people I met in Seika. So I think that that just helped create maybe my interpersonal skills. Learning how, I mean, you're pretty much moving here at what? I started boarding school at 10, 11, and you're there with people you've never met from different backgrounds, different parts of the country, and you're kind of forced to get to know them and create a community. So I think boarding school essentially helped me create a community, especially moving from there and then being thrown into an all-white high school in Minnesota. We were like maybe 10 Black people, if any. And so it was just such a big transition. But I think just learning how to meet new people and immediately find things in them that you can relate to helps with my transition. So definitely, so I left Seka, like I said, I went through from 1 to lower 6, and then I moved here in high school. And I think at the time my parents did that because they wanted the transition from Cameroon to the US to be a little bit better. I mean, moving from an all-girls boarding school straight to college, I think can be a little dangerous. You can go wild with all the freedom. So I don't know my parents' reasoning, but as a parent now, I'm thinking it was just to help with that, connection. Like, okay, get here, slow down, cool your horses a little, be in class with boys without going too crazy, and get into those. I think at the time, obviously, you're a typical teenager. I was excited, but I was also a little annoyed because I was going to miss all my friends. I wasn't going to graduate with my classmates. So there was a little anger there. I never expressed it, but that was the hardest transition. Missing, you're in boarding school with the same people for 6, 7 years. You create such a tight bond with them. And I was like, I'm not going to be with them. I'm not going to go to UB with them and have all these shared experiences. But looking back, I think it was definitely a good thing. It gave me an understanding of a little bit of what high school is here. I wish I knew more because that would have probably played a role in the college I eventually went to. But coming from Cameroon to America, I really didn't know or have any of the resources to really, research the way I should have researched. So I left Holy Angels and then I went to a Catholic college.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you mentioned leaving Cameroon early was kind of easier for you to transition. But how for you as a Black African woman or young girl coming to the US, were there any challenges, especially when it was time to graduate or compared to your little cocoon that you had in your boarding school? How was it for you here? And then how was it finding a job? Especially if you are in that area of Minnesota where it's not actually it's predominantly white people.
Yeah, so that's diverse. Yes.
Can you please just kind of tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say high school, I think obviously we're already teenagers. There's already that awkwardness as being a teenager. Then you're moving to a predominantly white high school. I had still my short hair from boarding school that had been permed and straight and awkward looking. You have an accent. So, I mean, there's so many ways to identify you as an other already. At the time, I just kind of try to be brave and strong, like, oh, it's not bothering me. But I know internally it probably hindered me just getting out there and joining some school activities because I was like, oh, they're not even going to understand me. How can I join? I've always wanted to do like debate club, but I didn't because I was like, even though I like arguing and my dad always calls me opposa, family attorney. I did not do it because I thought they wouldn't understand me with my accent. You know, I wanted to play soccer, just little things that I think was just being in such a different environment made me feel so awkward about myself. So I did not pursue those things. And then having boys in class, when you're from an all girls boarding school, it was just I mean, I had obviously childhood friends who were boys and stuff, but it was such a different environment than here. Um, and then I think the biggest thing was just understanding the American educational system. I've never been like a top A student. That one I've always said I've had to work hard to get it. But funny enough, in Cameroon, I was always kind of in the middle. I never was the last, but I was never the first. But when I got to the US, there was something about maybe how the way they taught that seemed to click in my head. And I actually started doing really well, especially in math. Madam Mrs. Leonga and Seka will probably tell you how awful I was at math. It was one of those subjects in GC that I knew I'm not even going to pass, so I'm not even going to bother, which is a bad mentality, but that was just my reality. I moved here in high school, and Miss Kilkelly, my high school math teacher, I don't know what miracle she did, but I finally got it. So I was able to, academically wise, kind of get how the Americans taught, and my grades improved significantly. Well, those grades improved significantly, but I didn't know how to navigate the system, how to get scholarships, what to do. Like, I wanted to move out of Minnesota and maybe go to, like, I'd always heard of the historically black colleges. I wanted to go to one so bad, but I didn't know how. So going back, I mean, especially, I think now maybe people are more knowledgeable with the internet and stuff that's just more predominant. But I wish I knew and had those resources to really get me to the schools that I wanted to see me. I didn't, so I felt overwhelmed, and I just kept my job search within the state of Minnesota because I'm like, well, I've been here, I'm considered kind of a resident already in the state. I'll get more scholarships. I didn't know that I could use, you know, some of benefits of being a minority to really maximize your college experience. So that was hard. Looking back, I'm like, wow, I could have done this. But you can't really dwell on that. You know now, so I use that information to advise and talk to younger Cameroonians coming here. And then the other thing is, like, you move here, almost all your friends are working, you know, they have a little money to go and do that. In Cameroon, it's not really the same mentality. And it's like trying to rely on your parents for allowance and stuff. It wasn't the same. But when I moved to college, I said, you know what, I'm going to immerse myself in the American culture and do what my peers are doing. And I think that helped a lot. I got a job. I was working 25 hours a week tutoring French. I know you will not believe me now because of my my no now, but
I can't even say a whole sentence in French right now.
Back in the day, my French was good. You can ask Monsieur Roche in high school and Madame Kessler in college. I tutored French for 4 years of high school, and I also worked at Bath and Body Works at the mall. You know, came in as a non-resident, but there's ways to get permits to work off campus. So that was a pretty easy transition for me. I was able to do that. So I worked and, you know, went to school. The balance was hard because coming from a place where you, like you said, sheltered in a bubble, you know, you have people who might do some certain stuff for you when you're home in Cameroon. Here you're doing it for yourself. So growing up and learning those skills, essentially you're forced to grow up, which I don't think it's a bad thing. I like that I was able to go out there and work because it kind of helped me appreciate and understand that money doesn't come easy. And I appreciate that my parents were actually doing a pretty good job giving us, like, randomly calling and say, you want a PlayStation. Now as a parent, I'm like, you know what that means? You know, but I don't know if that answered the question, but that was kind of like the hardest part. And then being obviously Black in Minnesota, I would say honestly, in high school and college, so in high school, I didn't really, maybe it was because we come from Cameroon. Racism and stuff like that just did not click in my head. For me, it was just like, I'm
Yeah,
Cameroonian, I'm black. You know, like, oh wow, is it a big deal that I'm black? It didn't connect in my head. But once I got to college, incidences that occur on campuses and stuff starts creating that awareness that, oh wow, you know, I might go for a job and I'm qualified with more than somebody else, but because of the color of my skin, I probably won't get the job. I remember when I was starting to look for big girl jobs my senior year in college, and my college counselor advised me to make sure I don't have braids and things like that. You know, at the time I was like, oh yeah, man, I have to make sure I have my straight wig. Oh, sorry, here, straight wig and stuff. But now looking back, I'm like, no, that was not correct, you know. But that's
looking at you all locked
now
up.
I have locks, you know,
All
and I
locked.
went the
I'm listening
extreme
now.
opposite, and I'm doing well for myself now with the locks. But at the time, too, you're a young woman in a society where you're a minority, you're going into an industry that is also not predominantly women. So you're trying to do everything to mold into what they think you should be. And I think that can be very suffocating because I mean, you're essentially not yourself. I've wanted to lock my hair probably since college, but because of the taboos and everything associated with it in the corporate America world at the time, it kind of held me back. And just, I mean, just there's going to be a lot of things that if I reflect really deeply on, but I was also very active. Once I got to college, I think my community activism and owning who I was as a Black woman started showing up. You know, I co-founded with a couple of friends United for Africa. I was president of International Club. So I took these roles that I think would push me out of my comfort zone to really understand what it meant to be a Black woman in America. I took like philosophy, my minored in women's studies. But when I was minoring in women's studies, another thing that stood out was the women's studies had nothing about experiences of Black women in America. So it was just one of those things crossing in the back of my mind, like, okay, this is a feminism course, but it's related to white America. It doesn't really have anything to do with me. You know, it's not for everybody, but I still learned stuff from there. I think it at least planted the seed of showing up fully as who I am. It might have taken a few years to really get into that phase, but it planted that seed. But I mean, there's been so many experiences I've had in Minnesota in my working career that are outright racist. At the time, I didn't say anything because I'm like, I don't want to be known as the angry Black woman. But looking back, I'm like, oh, wow, that should not have happened. So, I mean, I would say young women now, in Minnesota is still predominantly white. I'm now in Duluth, that is really, really white. But I would say, don't hesitate to take up space. Take up space, own who you are. And if it's meant for you, they will see you. They will see you for who you are. Your looks aren't really going to matter. They're going to see you for who you are. You know, I remember my dad was really worried with my looks getting into this really high level corporate America job role that I'm in right now. And I just went through their LinkedIn profiles, like, look at the VP of this, she has locks, you know? But I'm like, we shouldn't even have to do that. We should just be authentically ourselves, because if we're not ourselves, it's hard to, you know, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That was a round way to answer that question, but I hope I did.
It did put some light into the question for sure. Now I
Mm-hmm.
have a question for you. How much do you know about the insurance world in Cameroon? And
You know,
what do you think should be, done different? What is wrong? What should be improved? Or why look for the wrong? What is actually going right? You know, tell us
yeah.
what you know and what you think, please.
I would say I'm a little embarrassed considering my dad spent 40 something years in the insurance industry in Cameroon, that I have a very, very loose understanding. Like, I've had conversations with him, but I don't think I've had deep enough conversations to really talk to the industry in Cameroon. I know the industry has a lot of potential. I know it's growing. Like, just doing a little research prior to sitting down with you, I saw that at one point there were only like 7 insurers, and now it's grown to,
They
I
have a
think,
lot.
yes, there's a lot more in the market right now. I would say like the one thing that I don't think the industry has, like in the insurance industry in America, and this might be a really minor thing, but it makes a big difference. So that we have a reporting system, whether it's auto insurance, life insurance, work comp, whatever line of insurance, it's a reporting system, it's a database that everything goes into. So if somebody files a claim, I can pull up this report to see all the thousand things that have showed up in their insurance record. And for me, coming from a risk background, that's a good thing to know. Like if I see that this person has a trend of having slip and fall accidents at grocery stores, it'll kind of give me a, let's look into this a little bit more and see what's happening. There's nothing like that in Cameroon. I feel like, I don't think there is anyways. I know that there's a system now um, to do online, report a claim, and I think get paid, claims paid online. But I think a united system where all insurers can go and get some specific data, because I know fraud is a big thing there. It's hard to figure out, and there's sometimes people might file death claims and life insurance claims that are all based on fraud, but there's no way to identify that. you know so I think just having unified systems where all the insurers can pull data from might be beneficial. But then again, I really don't know much about the industry to really talk, but that's the one thing I would say could be a good starting point. I think the industry has so much potential, but I think the industry only has as much potential as the country allows it to be. We're not where we are economically to really benefit from what the insurance industry has to offer to us. And I think as the country is evolving and growing and we're getting to more of that more structured economic system, we'll have employers who are able to really tap into what insurance and risk can provide for them. So I think, I honestly, I think maybe in the next 20, 30 years, there's going to be so much potential for growth in the insurance industry. I don't even know if there's anything like work comp in Cameroon. I think there is. I think I talked to my dad once. There's something to that effect, but how, you
How it's
know,
implemented and all that.
yes, how is it? How are you able to verify? There's just this little thing. So it'll be an interesting industry to watch. And if I get a chance to get involved in any capacity, hey, why not?
www.owahinsurance.com.
Yeah, no, not in that capacity, but hey, you never know.
Now, I want to ask you a little bit more, something a little more personal. Like, have you ever had a tough time as a woman, African, or you, basically?
Mhm,
Have you
mhm,
had a tough time and you find yourself in a place where you have no idea what to do? You are helpless, hopeless, all those.
mhm.
If you don't mind sharing that with us, and mainly, how did you overcome it?
Okay. Well, I probably won't go into too much details, just to protect the privacy of everybody else. But yeah, no, I have gone through, a really tough time, especially around the pre-pandemic. In 2019, I'll say 2021, were extremely difficult for me personally. That also trickled down to my professional life, because then it gets you thinking about so many aspects of your life, and personally, professionally, mentally. I would say, and again, this is me being a non-conventional Cameroonian, therapy. I would say, because I'm a type A personality, I'm a fixer. I like to fix things, and it's hard for me to ask for help, especially from people I know I care about, even though that should be the opposite. Those are the people you should be reaching out to and pulling support from. So in my personal journey, when I was going through a hard time, I didn't share with anybody around me what was going on. And I was I was spiraling. It was pretty dark. And so my alternative was to find a neutral party. And so I reached out to, at the time, my company's employee assistance program, and I was connected with a therapist. I would say therapy definitely made a world of difference for me, because it helped me process information a little bit better. And it also helped me get to a point where I was okay sharing and asking for help. with from other people. I would say tap into your resources. Do not go through things alone. Um, the experience though made me realize that I can do anything and everything I want. Like when you think like, man, there's just no way you're going to get out of this, God and therapy seem to show out every week like, nah, you got this, you can move from it. But I was pretty dedicated early on when things started getting really dark for me. I was like, you know what? I'm not able to show up to work 100%. I have a daughter. I'm not able to be there for her 100%. I caught myself snapping at her unnecessarily and just kind of channeling my frustration onto her. And that's not the type of parent I wanted to be. So I reached out, I formed a great bond with my therapist. I tease her that I've pretty much paid for her college fund for her kids because of how many times that I had sessions with her. And then when I got comfortable enough, I shared with friends and families and I allowed them to be there for me. It was still very difficult because I'm just the type of person who wants to handle stuff myself and figure it out myself. But I learned that it is okay. It is okay to reach out for help. It helped me grow personally. It made me realize that you can't take life serious, like too serious. Let go. Let go of stuff because holding on to stuff just creates it just creates this cycle of kind of annoyance and hate in your system. Let go of stuff. It also made me realize that I am a lot tougher than I thought I was, and which trickled into my professional career because that made me realize that, you know what, I'm not going to wait 5 years to get this certification that I think I need to get my role. I'm looking at these job descriptions and I'm like, I meet at least 80% of the requirement. I may not have a CPCU by my name, but I'm working towards that and let me go for it. That definitely changed my mentality in going for it. And then it also helped me realize that that's when I started locking my hair. I was like, you know what? I need to stop conforming to the molds where I think people want me to be and just be authentically myself. And people who love and care for me will accept me for who I am. And people who don't, it's not my business. That's on you. I'm not going to, let you project your insecurities on my life. Like that's just, there were just so many things. So a short form is advice personally from me. If you're going through a really, really dark time, tap into your resources, tap into your network. If you're like me where you want to fix things by yourself, know that there's neutral parties out there like therapists, financial counselors, attorneys, and stuff that you can reach out to if you're not comfortable reaching out to family and friends. But once you get to that comfort level, lean on your family and friends because they're going to be able to hold you up in your darkest moments. They know you better than any therapist or attorney. So they can remind you of stuff that, come on, Awah. 10 years ago, you wouldn't have taken this. This is what it's like, oh yeah. They can just pull out that strength in you that you might not be seeing right now, but they can see, And then thirdly, learn to just let go. You cannot be in complete control. Coming from a graduated control freak, you cannot be in complete control of everything in your life. You need to learn sometimes to lay back and let things go, but at the same time, take up space, just take up space with who you are as a person. Professionally, it also helped me realize that I was reflecting during those times like, wow, people who started in the industry with me at the same time, because I've kept really close contacts and I'm really good friends with some of them. They're all VPs now, they're directors, they're in so many higher levels than where I was. And what I realized that you need to speak up. That was the difference between me and them. I was doing all the same things they were doing. I was volunteering for different committees. I was volunteering for everything. But I wasn't making it clear with my manager that this is my goal. I want to be in this role. I want to be in that goal. And maybe it's part of our upbringing as Africans, especially African women, to just not, I don't know, or just maybe it was just my personality assuming that they can see everything I'm doing. Of course they can. Look at me taking up all these extra projects at work. How are they not seeing it? But I just kept on getting past for promotions over and over. And when I realized that, you know what, in corporate America, sometimes you need to speak up, and it's not a matter of you sucking up to your manager. No, you need to make it clear that this is what I'm doing to get to the roles I want to be, and I need you to know that I'm taking on this extra project because it's preparing me for this role, and not assuming that your manager has your best interest. You need
And
to be your biggest.
not to cut you off, but I
Yeah.
think having worked in Cameroon, in Africa, in
Hmm.
and in America, I think it's something that should also apply in those African geographies
Yeah.
because role model, a lot of those American companies have HQ here, but then
Hmm.
subsidiaries over there. So
That's
technically,
true.
if they say the group is we don't talk, we do that, it's usually passed across.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a mentality, maybe it's the way we were brought up, but it
Mhm.
should be a very normal thing to do.
Yeah. Hmm.
Approach your manager and to be like, hey, my
Hmm.
is I want to become XYZ.
Yeah.
Again, it's all about the way you bring it up because you're not gonna
Yeah.
say, hi, I'm working now. The way you
Yeah.
bring it counts, the when,
Yeah.
but you have to do it.
Yeah.
If
And
you
you
just
have to support. You cannot say, I want to be a risk manager, and then you're not doing the things or showing the results to
exactly
show that you can be a risk manager, you
again
know?
and do it. Don't
Yes.
just do it. You have to speak,
Yes.
do it, and
Mm-hmm.
get the help because your manager actually could actually be your mentor as well. You never know.
Exactly.
They're
Yeah.
also supposed to be your leaders, not just
Yeah.
managers. And the leader is supposed to kind of help you develop. That's the new coach.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
we can go to my next question, which was, what would you tell a young girl who wants to be
Yeah.
young? You know,
Yeah.
but I
Yeah.
have one more question. Actually, a question in two. A question that has two sides.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you what you wish that you were told then that you know now. But then part of me feel like you have been to a self-discovery journey.
Mm-hmm.
You have so many and insight, that you wish you were told then that you have to
Oh,
have for yourself now, which you talked
yeah.
about. So I don't know if you have an answer for that you want to add something to, or if you just want to tell us, what would you say? How do you see the African woman, the Cameroonian woman of today, be it the one in Cameroon or the one, in the diaspora, like us,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
our families. How do you
Yeah.
see it? And what would be your advice, piece
Mm-hmm.
of advice, or what would you like to see more of and
Mm.
less? That would be
Okay.
up to
Yeah. I would say, for personally for me, and maybe it's just from my observations and stuff, is I would like to see more unity and networking. I feel like we have so much potential to tap into so many different industries and help our fellow Cameroonian sisters, and both in Cameroon and here, move up in different, parts of different industries. Because I mean, you want a doctor, I can name qualified Cameroonian doctors you can reach out to. One on Instagram, Guanina helps people who are moving and transitioning. You want to talk engineering, there's so many. So just forming that network of Cameroonians who are in various industries and using kind of like a global mentorship kind of thing. I've always thought about that. I don't know if I have the bandwidth to even create something like that, but growing up in the industry, I've always my mentors were always either, other than Janelle, were always white males. Obviously risk and insurance is a very more conservative white industry, but there's a lot of us out there, I'm sure. And finding those people can be hard. So hoping that, Cameroonian women, as we grow in the industries, send our hands back and pull up other people with us. Another thing is,
think it's very, very pertinent, and I love that idea. And I
yeah,
really wish we can something like that can be put in place.
yeah, it's,
I don't think you need like a formal structure,
yeah,
personally. I think even being on social media now, just like you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned with Nina, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you can send her a message. If she puts her time and she has time for that, she might
Mm-hmm.
respond and give you an insight. You don't need to know each other on a personal level.
Oh yeah, yeah,
You just need to
yeah.
ask a question that she may have
Mm-hmm.
an answer to, which is
Yeah,
her industry, you know?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
now, do you have a social media platform, for example?
Yeah, but that's why I said, also another thing, my self-discovery journey is boundaries. Taking up what I think I can handle right now. And maybe it's also a part of my, I need to type A, everything needs to be perfect. I'm
Mm,
still working towards that part in my self-discovery journey, that I don't need to be at perfect to start something, but it's been toying in my head. I'm like, we have so much potential and resources, and I see all these young Cameroonian women who have so much potential, but they don't just have the resources, and we can provide that resource for them, whether it's through mentorship, sharing your journey, putting them in front of the right people so they get the exposure they need and stuff like that. Another thing I would tell Cameroonian young women is, don't be afraid to take up space.
mm,
We're in a patriarchal society, whether you're in Cameroon or here, and it might rub some people the wrong way. That's their business. It has nothing to do with you. Don't be afraid to take up space. I mean, could I have done that 10 years ago? Probably not, but you know, learn from my mistake, take up space, own up, own who you are, and speak up for what you want. You know, culturally too. I mean, I wouldn't just make it broad, but yeah, culturally too, where women are kind of raised to be a little bit more subdued or take a step back from the male child or stuff like that. Like, no. And I see it changing so much now. I mean, I follow young Cameroonian women in Cameroon that motivate and inspire me daily. I'm like, man, you're 10 years younger than me. If I was doing what you're doing now, man, I probably would be like president of Cameroon at this point. But but that's refreshing to see that a lot of them are not afraid to create. Okay, the doors have all been shut for me. I'm building my own table. I'm building my own home, and I'm building my. So I like that. I like seeing that, and it inspires me so much. And I'm just encouraging more and more Cameroonian women to keep doing that. Don't wait. You don't have to go the traditional route. You don't need to work for PricewaterhouseCoopers. You don't need to work for this to feel like you're successful. If those doors have been shut, go back, reevaluate, re-strategize, and maybe build your own price. And I've seen that in so many people. They may have wanted to be in the entertainment industry, and things were shut down, and they created their own platform and their own world. And that is just so inspiring to see. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, thank you, Awa. I just wanted to
Yes.
ask a quick
Yeah.
quiz. How would you order these words or these hats that you hold and carry every day in your life now? Daughter, mother, sister, insurance, insurer. Uh,
Yeah.
what else am I forgetting? Just those four. Can you just put them in order for us to just be like, okay,
Okay, so right now, I would say, if I have to put it in order, I would just put Awah. Awah is at the top. So,
our.
because if my cup isn't full, I can't pour into the other
That's
bucket.
the fifth one I did not mention. Our.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's Awah, and then it's mom,
Mhm.
because my daughter, man, I have so much to pour into her, and I'm unlearning so many things I was taught, and I want to teach her so many different ways to be whoever she wants to be. And then I would say right now, in this point in my life, career is being a absolute best risk manager my company has ever seen. So be our daughter risk manager, and then I would just say, I mean, maybe I might flip that. Our mother, and then I would say my unique me. Doing the things I like to do. My camping and whatever, the things that tap into me, and then being an absolute best risk manager. Because I feel like if those first three are not in order, I won't be able to show up career wise how I want to show up. So if that makes sense. So that's the order I would put it now. I'll be Awah, then my daughter, and then all the other things that bring me joy in my life, and then my career. So,
Okay.
all
So,
right.
well, I wish you a pleasant weekend, and I'm thank you
Yes.
again for giving us your time today, Awa.
Thanks, Liz.
All the best, and talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.